What's up guys, NC Storm Chaser here, and this is my 2020 Chase-Cation. This video is going to be a little bit different as in this is not going to be a written script but more of a free form off of memory, what I remember from those days. Hope you guys enjoy. This chase started on May 13th, 2020. I left Elk City for I believe it was a 10% tornado risk day, and I arrived in Pampa, Texas at about 11 o'clock or noon, and the heavy fog from the morning had finally lifted. And I just sat waiting at this gas station with an absolutely ungodly amount of trains that came through within the probably about 4-hour period I was sitting there. I had, I'm guessing, anywhere from 15 to 16 trains came through. Yeah, so that was pretty fun.
Probably about 20 minutes. Jeez. Train number 5. In about 30 minutes.
Well, we're here in Pampa, Texas. Today's Wednesday the 13th of May. There's an enhanced risk for severe storms today. We actually just got downgraded with our tornado risk to a 2%. The HRRR is showing some discrete cells up here by Pampa, and it's been consistently showing them since I think the 0Z run. So I'm pretty confident that they're going to happen right now. It's about 1 p.m., so it's been a while since the 0Z run. So we're going to sit here in Pampa and see what happens. Right now there's clear blue skies, so we're going to get plenty of daytime heating. The problem is things are going to go linear really quick, and we're only going to have a very small window for these storms to produce tornadoes. But we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, throughout the day, storms did develop, but they just couldn't get enough strength to progress past this. This is about the best it got. So with that, I went and found a place to sleep and waited for the next day. Day 2 of my 2020 Chase-Cation. Yesterday was a little meh. It wasn't, it was a good first chase, but it's about what I expected it to be. It looked good up until day of, and then day of, the parameters just kind of went to hell. So there was no tornadoes yesterday, obviously. Got a little shelf cloud. I had a pretty good lightning show after dark, but I was trying to just get out of the storms so I could find some place nice to sleep. So here I am, out here in the northern Texas Panhandle. I had to figure out where I was for a second. Sleeping in what I call Hotel Soul. So, see here, I got all this. I got my air mattress laid out here. Got my seats folded flat. So, I'm good. I got a little shelf here for my water. Shelf on the other side for my phone and everything. It's pretty nice. Oh, you got to see the view out this window too. Didn't even know where I was. I just pulled over at this this rest area here. I think I'm somewhere north of Pampa, like northwest of Canadian. Oh. And there is the view outside my window. Yeah, pretty insane view to wake up to. There's the view out my windshield. Cooking some breakfast. Baked potato with bacon and cheddar in a can. What more do you want in life? After getting a good breakfast in and cleaning everything up, looked at models and they didn't look great. Instability wasn't looking good for today, and I ended up following these puffy cumulus clouds here. I think I watched them throughout most of the day, especially this one tower right there in the middle. Well, hey there, buddy. You just gonna chill there while I'm here? So after following this updraft for most of the day, it was finally starting to look a little more robust. It was getting a bigger base on it. It was starting to get a little tiny bit of an anvil at the top. And then finally, towards the evening hours, it turned into a storm. And I also made a little friend. A stray cat that would not leave me alone. Not that I minded. I think I spent more time petting her than I was watching the storms, but she was a real sweetie pie. This video doesn't even do it justice. The colors and everything in it. Hey, I gotta go, sweetie. I do. You're good, honey. Eat what's left of that granola bar, alright? I gotta go. There's a storm. You've been a sweetie, though. After saying my goodbyes to my new friend, I hopped in the car and went after the now developing supercell. This is as good as it got that day. It was a very nice LP cell. Beautifully backlit, had some nice lighting and some pretty decent structure for just a marginal day. Overall, it wasn't a huge disappointment. There was actually several supercells I intercepted that night, but didn't really get good video of them because it was after dark. So this was the best I had for the day, and honestly, it wasn't that bad of a chase day. Alright, day 3 of my Chase-Cation. I'm up here, I think I'm outside of Buffalo, Oklahoma. And it's a little rest area I just pulled off at. So yesterday was pretty nice. I'm glad I hung around northwest Oklahoma, northeast Texas Panhandle. I got some nice supercells yesterday with some decent structure. I got some good lightning photos too. I think I got a couple of those. I gotta still look through them. But plan for today is to head north to Colorado for a 2% tornado risk, because I'll take a 2% tornado risk in Colorado over the one in Texas / southern Oklahoma right now. So let's hope the DCVZ can make some magic today. The dew points are forecast to be up in the 50s, so yeah, that'll get it done up there. It seems I have attracted a crowd. I finally decided to hit the road. It was a almost 8-hour drive up to Colorado, but I got there just in time to get underneath a developing storm. Rain was starting to fall, and it had a very nice looking updraft base. It was still a little messy, but within about 30 minutes or so, it very quickly organized into a very beautiful, almost glowing blue supercell. So this was by far the coldest temps I've ever seen a supercell in, with temperatures only about 55 to 56 degrees. And at first I was thinking this storm was going outflow dominant, and then I realized no, it wasn't. I was having pretty significant inflow at my back, and if you watch the clouds in this time lapse, you will definitely notice very broad rotation. The storm was moving extremely slow over extremely open terrain, so wonderful chasing conditions, absolutely beautiful views here. You'll see I drive down the road a little bit, and when I come back to it here, it is now looking more and more like a classic supercell with a beautiful blue core to it, and it's just slowly spinning over the landscape here. Just an absolutely relaxing chase. This is why you drive 8 hours to Colorado. Inflow just streaming into this thing. Spinning like a top right now. Hopefully she can keep on going. The thing is, it looks outflowy, but it's not. After watching this absolutely stunning blue supercell just crawl over the landscape for almost 35-40 minutes now, I moved in a little bit closer. A few dust whirls happened here underneath where the tightest rotation was. It was really hard to pinpoint where anything was on this storm because it was a very ragged looking storm, but absolutely beautiful. The storm gave one last attempt at organization here. You can see it trying to pull itself together in a little bit tighter rotation here with that lowering, but after this point it went outflow dominant very quickly, to which I blasted back south trying to beat the core across the road and ended up getting caught in some pretty big but luckily wet hail. So the next day was actually just a marginal risk day, and it was down in New Mexico and there was nothing else to do, so I drove down the 5 hours there to, I think this was Springer, New Mexico. Plan for the day was to get gas and something to eat in Springer and then wait outside the town just to the east and wait for storms to come off of the mountains and just see what happens, because I really wasn't sure what to expect this day. But the HRRR model was definitely showing a discrete supercell in that area, so I did have some hopes that we would see at least something cool. So I sat outside of Springer for a couple hours, and just watched cumulus roll off the mountains until finally a storm got going from one of the towers. And it began to rotate very quickly, actually, which surprised me, considering the parameters for the day. But the HRRR model had absolutely nailed the forecast in that there would be one discrete supercell that would come off the mountains. And unfortunately, if you've ever chased in eastern New Mexico, you know that there is a very bad, or lack thereof, road network. So trying to get close to and keep up with this storm was almost impossible. We ended up on the east side of it. It was actually a south moving supercell. Very surprising. And the core, we got on the wrong side of the core and just could not get back up to this thing. The roads would not let us. So eventually here, we just kind of gave up the chase. Took our beautiful supercell though. It was a fun day for a marginal day. Again, we weren't really expecting a whole lot, so this was more than enough for us. And just let it cross in front of us, and then went and found a place to rest up for the night. So the next day we ended up just about 2 hours north of where we were prior, and it was much of the same setup. Sit and wait for storms to come off the mountains, and when they finally did, we got this absolutely beautiful low precipitation supercell that was just crawling along at just a few miles an hour. So I think we sat here for probably about 3 hours and just watched this amazing shape-shifting supercell just rotating over the landscape here. This was honestly just a really fun chase day. Again, it was a marginal risk day. There wasn't a whole lot there, but just to see the structure on this supercell was absolutely stunning and well worth it. So the next chase day took us a little bit north of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the day started out with this beautiful supercell, and everything was looking good until about 6 or 7 o'clock, and then everything kind of went very outflow dominant, and we got a very beautiful shelf cloud out of it, but other than that, nothing really noteworthy of this day. The next day was still up in Wyoming near the Black Hills. As you can see, there is a very tight mezzo over these mountains here, and we thought that for sure that any minute now we were probably going to get a tornado out of this thing. Unfortunately, as was the trend with all of 2020, the storm just couldn't get its act together and went outflow dominant very quickly. It tried a couple times again to put something down, but just really couldn't get itself together once it left the mountains and kind of gusted out. However, after the storm gusted out and we were trying to stay out ahead of it here, there was this little spin up here. It was very neat to watch at the time, and I didn't think it was a tornado at this first part watching it. But as we got closer and we came around this curve, unfortunately I couldn't pan my camera anymore to the left, so it goes out of frame, but I was watching it still, and as it went over this hill, it was a really tight little drill bit of a white mist going over the top of this hill, and that's when I was like, okay, this might be a tornado. And finally, later that night, there was another chaser who was further back who got a photo of a very ragged funnel above this thing. So in a year where there was virtually no tornadoes, I am going to count this one as a single bird fart tornado. Later on, we ended up getting this really cool gust-nado, maybe a tornado later on, still on the same storm, across the road right in front of us. And when I went to pull over to record it with the handheld camcorder, my smart self hit the start button, and then I hit the stop button right after it, and then I ended up recording absolutely nothing. But it was a very persistent vortex as it moved off into a field and over a tree line. We finally lost sight of it. So at the end of the day here, the storm was still outflow dominant. Had some severe straight line winds and hail as we raced back to Pines Bluff to try to get under the gas station before the hail got to us. It was a very fun chase day indeed, and this time lapse here was just icing on the cake. May 21st, 2020 is a day that a lot of chasers will remember for the beautiful structure that happened later in the evening. The day started out with discrete supercells struggling in less than ideal conditions. You can see here in this sped up video a nice wall cloud forming, but nothing ever came of this. Storm started to congeal together and then actually turned into this beautiful, massive mothership supercell that just spun like a top over the Kansas landscape just a little bit north of Ulysses, Kansas here. Just an absolutely stunning storm. Beautiful, breathtaking, absolutely stunning. After that mothership went outflow dominant, we headed down south to a couple low precip supercells down here. Got a brief anticyclonic funnel out of this one, and then the next one down the line actually produced us our first, hard pressed to call it decent, but decent tornado of 2020.
We can still see it as we're headed south. At least we'll be in, we'll cut in front of it. Or wait, no, don't. That's a tornado there.
Yeah, that is.
Yes.
Not gonna lie, we pulled this one out of asses today.
Yeah, that's 100% tornado, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking at it over here on the camera. There's nothing else over there that's gonna kick that up. Yeah, for sure. That's a tornado.
All right, we got a tornado there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Right about there. See the lowering there? I think that would be a land spout, huh?
No, if it's attached to that mezzo, no.
It's definitely attached.
Here you can see the funnel up in the upper left corner here, and a very thin little dust shaft going up. I did take some photos of this one and enhance the contrast so the tube came out a little bit more. But yeah, so this was the most photogenic tornado we had in 2020, and it came out of an extremely low precip supercell. And me and my chase partner here were about the only people to actually see this tornado, and actually confirm that it was a tornado with that funnel cloud up there. Some other chasers saw the ground circulation, but we were the only ones that were in the right position to get a view of the funnel because of the strange spot it was on the storm here.
May 24th, 2020 was the last day of my Chase-Cation for me. The chance for storms actually looked fairly decent, and we started out the day chasing tons of dust devils in extreme eastern Colorado, almost onto the Kansas border here. Once storms finally went up that day, they did so in extreme western Kansas, a little bit south of Goodland, and unfortunately, due to a very strong cap, the storms just could not get going, and they stayed in a very low precip mode. Here's a time lapse from the GoPro as we followed this low precip cell. It gave us a couple little very high elevation funnels here and there, but really nothing too noteworthy here. It's trying. And this was the storm's last hurrah. A very weak, very elevated funnel, and it would be my last funnel I would see in 2020.
But that's where the inflow is coming in. That's where the storm is sucking in.
As this storm faded off into the distance, my 2020 Chase-Cation came to a close. To say it was frustrating would be an understatement. I drove almost 10,000 miles in 2 weeks. Most days were only marginal risk days. 3 very weak tornadoes to show for all that driving, and some decent photography. A lot of chasers, and myself included, were extremely frustrated during May of 2020. In a month where there's supposed to be an abundance of tornadoes, we had an extremely low tornado count, probably one of the lowest we've ever had. And it just goes to show that you never know what curveball Mother Nature's going to throw to you. Hopefully the 2021 season will be better, and hopefully everybody can stay safe, and we'll all get out on the plains, and maybe, just maybe, tornadoes still do exist on the Great Plains. Thank you for watching.